25 minutes before 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. It's time for NewsBites. This is the portion of AM Ocala Live during which Robin McBlain and I read the news from the different news agencies that we subscribe to here at the source, WOCA. We don't read the entire story. We shorten the story. It gives you a chance to catch up on the gist of the news without hearing the details. However, if you would like to know the details, simply go to the website associated with the news source that we will tell you about. The details are on that site, and usually most of these stories are covered by most of the news agencies, so you should be able to find the story elsewhere as well. One of the benefits of the modern technology that we are taking for granted a little bit. All right, the first story is from ABC News. In a partisan vote that marks a new escalation in the Republican confrontation with President Obama, the House of Representatives approved a resolution to authorize Speaker John Boehner to initiate litigation against the president. 5 Republicans joined a unanimous Democratic caucus in opposition to the resolution. In a floor speech during debate on the bill, Boehner said the vote was not about differences between Republicans and Democrats, but was about defending the Constitution that we swore an oath to uphold and acting decisively when it may be compromised.
First Lady Michelle Obama embraced her family's African roots in a speech yesterday, telling a group of young Africans that the blood of Africa runs through her veins as she urged changing traditional beliefs on the worth of educating women. Her husband had shied away from discussing his African heritage in his own remarks to the 500 Africans finishing a 6-week Washington Leadership Fellowship on Monday, referencing Obama's Kenyan father only once and in the question and answer session. But Michelle Obama said, as an African American woman, her discussion with the African youth was deeply personal. 3 months before congressional elections that could determine the fate of much of President Obama's platform, Michelle Obama's popularity remains high, while her husband's popularity has sunk. The White House is making women's empowerment a theme in a Washington African Leaders Summit next week. Michelle Obama said problems with girls' education often stemmed from traditional attitudes and beliefs that exist even in the United States, and lead to issues such as the gender pay gap and an underrepresentation of women in leadership, reported by Reuters.
And from Fox News, Israel's military announced this morning that it had called up 16,000 reservists as the country's prime minister vowed to destroy tunnels used by the Islamic militant group Hamas to attack soldiers and civilians inside Israel. We have neutralized dozens of terror tunnels, and we are committed to complete this mission with or without a ceasefire. It was a statement issued by Benjamin Netanyahu this morning. He went on to say, quote, "Therefore, I will not agree to any offer that does not allow the military to complete this important mission for the security of the people of Israel," unquote. Israel said that most of the 32 tunnels it has uncovered have now been demolished, and that getting rid of the remainder will take no more than a few days. The latest call-up brings the total number of reserve troops called up by Israel to 86,000. An Israeli defense official, speaking on condition of anonymity because he was not permitted to discuss the matter with media, told the Associated Press that the purpose of the latest call-up was to provide relief for troops currently on the Gaza firing line. However, Israeli officials have also said they do not rule out broadening operations in the coming days.
The people who run Florida's nursing homes have commissioned a new poll that shows most adults in the Sunshine State are worried about taking care of elderly parents. Tom Grossbeck with the Florida Healthcare Association says it's going to get worse as more and more baby boomers end up in nursing homes. This is his quote: "Floridians are nervous about their ability to help meet their parents' needs. They are apprehensive about the strain those needs might place on their own lives as well as their family lives, and they are anxious for Florida to provide enough options as their parents advance in age." The survey also shows 93% of Floridians think that it's important for the state to have a strong system of nursing homes and assisted living facilities. The Healthcare Association will be asking state lawmakers to come up with more cash to restore some of the cuts they've made over the last 5 years. This is reported by the Florida News Network.
And the Star Banner is reporting that the state attorney's office here in Marion County yesterday released a report indicating their decision to not file charges against 20-year-old Colt D. Threamer of Weirsdale for the shooting death of 21-year-old Thomas James Brown of Silver Spring Shores in the Walmart in the Silver Spring Shores parking lot. In the Walmart in Silver Spring Shores in their parking lot on July 9th. The report cites the Stand Your Ground law and details the decision with 8 pages of information regarding the night of the incident and the escalating relationship between the two men during the previous months before the shooting. The report notes that Brown sought out Threamer and physically attacked him. Brown's father disagrees with that conclusion and says he and his wife plan to hire an attorney to fight the decision. The Star Banner, by the way, has published a very well-researched and very comprehensive and detailed account of the story.
A couple from Washington County in West Virginia could be facing charges after a bizarre incident Tuesday morning. There they were at a busy four-way intersection on US 40, a national road, at 9:30 a.m. Tuesday. A naked man down on all fours, ankles bound, hood over his head, being walked on a leash by a woman wearing a purple nightgown. That was the weirdest day ever. Yep, I hope it is the weirdest day ever. This is a quote from Lieutenant Nelson Croft of the Sheriff's County in Ohio County, West Virginia. A picture of the couple was snapped on a cell phone by a passing driver. This is a quote from Lieutenant Croft. We started knocking on doors. Tips led to an apartment building on Roney's Point Road. The female at first denied any involvement. We had a witness positively identify her, and she admitted it, as did the male. The woman is identified as Barbara Jean B.J. Giardello, age 53, and her 56-year-old boyfriend, Robert Dial. Both are originally from Pennsylvania. Neither Giardello nor Dial has been charged yet. The district attorney is mulling over possibilities, likely indecent exposure, reported by CBS News.
Wow. And next story from CNN. Kenneth Bae, an American citizen detained in North Korea, said he feels like the U.S. government has abandoned him, according to a pro-North Korea newspaper. Bae gave an interview to Chosun Sinbo, a newspaper based in Japan, which has been given access to Bae in the past. The newspaper published a photo of Bae wearing a blue prison garment in an interview that it said took place on July 30th. Bae said that he heard the U.S. government is doing everything it can to have him released and thanked the American and North Korean government for allowing him to speak to his family over the phone and get medical treatment. He's been in North Korea for 2 years, and there is no sign of this issue being solved, according to the paper.
A dozen wounded veterans wrapped up several days of diving in the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary to help transplant corals on a special section of the reef that is set aside as a remembrance area for fallen American service personnel. The veterans were joined by teens from 2 organizations to sow staghorn corals on a section of a patch reef permitted to Mote Marine Laboratory. 4 of the 8 young divers are members of Gold Star Teen Adventures, an organization providing adventure camps for survivors of military personnel who died in the line of duty. The balance belonged to Scuba Nauts International, a program that involves youngsters in the marine sciences. Mote has been involved in growing and transplanting threatened staghorn corals in the sanctuary for about 8 years, reported by the Florida News Network.
And this is from the Leesburg Daily Commercial. A 68-year-old resident of the Villages arrested for having sex in one of the retirement community's public squares was sentenced yesterday to 180 days in the Sumter County Jail, the same plea deal already given to her co-suspect. She was dressed in a striped jail uniform with tears in her eyes, standing beside her lawyer. Margaret Peggy Clem said to the judge, quote, "I'm very sorry," when Judge Thomas Skidmore asked if she had something to say on her own behalf before being sentenced. 180 days in jail. All right, we need to move forward and take a little break, and we'll be right back with more News Bites after this.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For today, sunshine mixing with clouds. There will be a thunderstorm around during the afternoon and evening hours as usual. The high 89 to 93. And partly cloudy overnight, low 72 to 76. Tomorrow, times of sun and clouds with a thunderstorm mainly during the afternoon and evening hours. The high tomorrow 88 to 92. And for Saturday, times of clouds and sun with a shower or thunderstorm, especially in the afternoon. The high 87 to 91. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Hey, Matt, I know Sunrise Automotive does auto stuff, but I need some tires for my truck. Can you recommend someone?
Yes, I can. We do that.
No, I mean, I need them installed and balanced and all that.
Yep, we do that.
Well, my son needed his windows tinted.
Yep, we do that.
I need my
too.
seat replaced.
Yep, we do that too.
I need a new roof line, and a new spoiler, and a new
Yep,
trunk.
we can even do that too.
Okay, I get it. I suppose you can also do a radio show too, huh?
Well, as a matter of fact, join me every Monday at 10 for auto repair with personal care here on The Source.
Of course you do.
Stay informed on everything going on in the villages with the Village Spectator newspaper. The Village Spectator is exclusively devoted to the villages with news, commentary, and more. And yes, they have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask is that you tell them where you heard about them. Call Tom's Picks at 804-1223 and pick up your copy of the Village Spectator today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
You've got a garden and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source.
Hi, I'm Yvette, and I'm here to tell you a few things about ABC Frederick's Appliance. They sell not only new, but used guaranteed appliances. When you call ABC Frederick's Appliance, they will provide service on what they sell and any appliances that you own. ABC Frederick's Appliance is located in Bellevue, right over the railroad tracks. Call 352-629-5181. That's 352-629-5181. That's 352-629-5181. ABC Frederick's Appliance.
News Talk 1370, WOCA invites you to discover your full business potential. News Talk Radio is the perfect environment for your advertising. WOCA's News Talk format pinpoints information-hungry, better educated, high-income adults, so use us to talk to them. Call 732-8000, 732-8000. We're Ocala News Talk Radio. News Talk 1370, WOCA.
This is WOCA, News Talk 1370.
All right, 12 minutes before 9 o'clock. Let's return to NewsBites. The next story is from the Associated Press. The Wisconsin Supreme Court this morning upheld the 2011 law that effectively ended collective bargaining for most public workers, sparked massive protests, and led to Republican Governor Scott Walker's recall election and rise to national prominence. The 5-2 ruling upholding the law in its entirety is a victory for Walker, who is considering a 2016 run for president and is seeking re-election this year. It also marks the end of the 3-year legal fight over the union rights law, which prohibits public worker unions for collectively bargaining for anything beyond base wage increases based on inflation. A federal appeals court twice upheld the law as constitutional.
The U.S. Peace Corps said yesterday it was pulling all 340 volunteers from Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea because of the spreading Ebola virus that has killed 672 people in the 3 countries since February. A Peace Corps spokesperson said 2 volunteers were isolated and under observation after being exposed to a person who later died of Ebola. This is a quote from the spokesperson. These volunteers are not symptomatic and are currently isolated and under observation. The Peace Corps, citing privacy concerns, declined to say where the 2 volunteers had come into contact with the Ebola victim. The 2 volunteers would return to the United States once they were cleared to travel. It is the worst outbreak on record of the deadly virus. The virus is thought to stem from wild animals like forest bats. It is transmitted between humans by touching victims or through bodily fluids, reported by Reuters.
From the Associated Press, a gay Chinese man said this morning that he was suing a psychological clinic for carrying out electric shocks intended to turn him straight, as well as the search engine giant Baidu for advertising the center. The Beijing LGBT Center, which campaigns for gay rights, said it was the first court case involving so-called conversion therapy in China. China declassified homosexuality as a mental disorder in 2001. The center's executive director, Xing Ying, said some professional hospitals in China, as well as smaller private clinics, still provide conversion therapy, and that the group hopes the case at the Haidian District People's Court in Beijing will lead to a ban on the therapy. 30-year-old Yang Tang spoke to the Associated Press and said that the therapy given to him included hypnosis and electric shock, and he was left physically and mentally hurt by it. He said he voluntarily underwent the therapy in February following pressure from his parents to get married and have a child.
Since Florida's frontier days, when cattlemen drove their herds through the state's vast fields and forests, ranchers and native panthers have been natural enemies. The ranchers seek to nurture and protect their calves, while the panthers see them as prey. Now, with Florida panthers recovering from near extinction, a University of Florida researcher has found that panthers are killing calves at a Southwest Florida ranch in an area where the panthers are thriving. In the past, ranchers simply would have shot panthers, but because the 100 to 180 panthers are protected under the Endangered Species Act, they have few options. The study is a first step toward creating a new program that would pay ranchers for preserving panther habitat rather than trying to verify every cat killed, reported by Fox News.
And from ABC News, a 2-year-old girl was hospitalized after falling to the seating level below during a Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey circus performance yesterday in Dallas. The accident happened at the American Airlines Center. Officials with the facility released a statement about the accident to news reporters. The child's family was leaving their seats on the front row of the 200 level just before intermission when the child fell to the plaza level below. According to the statement, fire rescue officers rushed to help, and the child was transported to Children's Medical Center in unknown condition. The circus is scheduled to continue in Dallas until August 10th.
No charges are going to be filed in the case of a 4-year-old boy who was killed when he was attacked by his uncle's 2 pit bulls. A deputy smelled marijuana at the scene, but no charges will be filed because none of the drug was found. The attack happened about 10:30 p.m. July 19th when Logan and his mother Stephanie walked to the Fredericks home in Riverview, Florida. Detectives say Fredericks told them he had put the dogs in a pen so they would be able to come inside. But family members say Fredericks did not leave the animals locked up during the visit, but instead wanted them to be out so they could roam to protect his property. Logan ate ice cream and watched cartoons in the family room in the home, along with his 15-year-old cousin. The child's mother told reporters that family members were talking and celebrating a new business venture. She says they were all just a few feet away in the master bedroom when she says Logan somehow slipped outside away from his cousin and was attacked, reported by Florida Today.
And from ABC News, electric car maker Tesla Motors and Panasonic, the Japanese-owned electronics firm, have signed an agreement for a giant battery gigafactory in the United States. The manufacturing facility would help Tesla become a mass manufacturer of electric cars. Tesla will manage the battery factory, and Panasonic will manufacture and supply cylindrical lithium-ion cells. The gigafactory represents a fundamental change in the way large-scale battery production can be realized, according to a statement from J.B. Straubel, CTO and co-founder of Tesla Motors. Tesla projects that the battery plant will employ about 6,500 people by the year 2020.
New herds of genetically pure wild bison may once again roam vast expanses of the American West, where the iconic animal has been absent since the end of the 19th century. The proposal, for which Yellowstone National Park officials have begun seeking public comment, comment is almost sure to draw staunch opposition from ranchers concerned about disease, competition for grass, and property destruction from straying bison. Yellowstone is now home to more than 4,000 bison or buffalo, constituting the bulk of the country's last purebred population of the animals. Dozens from the Yellowstone herd have been relocated to 2 Montana American Indian reservations. Park officials, wildlife advocates, and Native American groups are now eager to restore wild bison to more of their native habitat.
From Newsmax, a powerful solar storm's near miss with Earth 2 years ago could have wreaked massive havoc, but businesses and government agencies are working on ways to cope with wild space weather, from protecting electric grids to rerouting flights. According to the news agency Vox, the sun erupted with 2 big bursts of charged plasma on July 23, 2012, that hurtled towards Earth's orbit but missed by about 1 week. I have come away from our recent studies more convinced than ever that Earth and its inhabitants were incredibly fortunate that the 2012 eruption happened when it did. There's a statement from Daniel Baker at the University of Colorado, who led a study of the storm in space weather, was posted on the space.com website.
And the story about the bison was reported by Reuters. I neglected to say that. Florida Chief Financial Officer Jeff Atwater has invited Floridians to the 2014 Florida Unclaimed Property Auction. This public auction of more than 60,000 items valued in excess of $1 million will be held Saturday, August the 9th at the Doubletree Airport Hotel in Orlando. A preview of items will be held on Friday, August the 8th. The unclaimed property auction features items from safe deposit boxes that have gone unclaimed for years, despite efforts to return them to their owners. These items include jewelry, watches, and rare coins. The CFO's office says proceeds from the auction are deposited into the state's education fund, where they work to support Florida's public school system. If you want to search for or claim unclaimed property, you can visit www.fltreasurehunt.org, reported by the Florida News Network.
And from the Associated Press, the House of Representatives overwhelmingly approved a landmark bill yesterday to refurbish the Veterans Affairs Department and improve veterans' health care. The 420 to 5 vote sends the bill to the Senate, where approval is expected by tomorrow. The $16.3 billion measure is intended to help veterans avoid long waits for health care, hire more doctors and nurses to treat them, and make firing senior executives at the VA easier. The measure includes $10 billion in emergency spending to help veterans who can't get prompt appointments with VA doctors to obtain outside care, $5 billion to hire doctors, nurses, and other medical staff, and about $1.3 billion to lease 27 new clinics across the country.
A small plane crashed in the parking lot of a San Diego retail store yesterday, killing 1 person and injuring at least 1 other. The single-engine aircraft bounced while attempting to land at the Montgomery Field Airport around 5:25 p.m. local time, became airborne again, and then crashed into a nearby Costco parking lot. An NBC affiliate in San Diego reported that 1 of 2 women in the plane died when it crashed outside the busy warehouse retailer, while the other was transported to a nearby hospital. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board will investigate the accident.
And the Gainesville Sun is reporting that the University of Florida expects to get a $12 million federal grant to study the medical condition sepsis. The money would be used to build a research center. University of Florida health officials announced in a news release last week that they had been awarded a 5-year grant from the National Institutes of Health for the center. According to the report, researchers had received notification from the NIH that the grant would be awarded September 1st. Sepsis is an often severe medical condition triggered by an overwhelming immune response to an infection, according to the National Institutes of Health. Immune chemicals released into the blood to fight the infection cause widespread inflammation, sometimes leading to failure of organs such as the kidneys or liver, and plummeting blood pressure, as well as a weakened heart, disorientation, and sometimes septic shock and even death. And that's all the time we have for News Bites. We need to move forward. Veterans News is coming up in just a little bit. Robin, how many stories were we able to get in there?
21.
Not bad, 21. All right, we will take a little break. Veterans News coming up next. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM.